cashless society, the digital dollar. What does that mean? What does that mean for you and I? Well, I know China has gone fully digital for the most part. That means if you're at a market and you want to get some vegetables or something or a small trinket, you cannot pay their fiat currency cash, dollar bills. They take nothing. You have to pay in their digital currency, their digital yuan or whatever they're calling it. That's the way they accept it for commerce. Sounds great. I mean, it sounds like you don't have to worry about carrying cash. You don't have to worry about paying for things and getting change back and that kind of stuff. All it is, it's a swipe of a card. It's an app. It's an implanted chip. I know some places have done that, and then along with that, they can pay for payment. There's also that same thing can give them access to their house, to their car, to their any vehicle they may have. Sounds great. Sounds awesome. That means there's less responsibility you have, and you're just pawning that off. Well, with that, less responsibility comes a severe cost, severe price to pay when you go cash, when it's a digital dollar. That's the goal by 2025. That Fed now, that is supposed to be fully implemented January of 2021. By 2025, they want the United States to be cashless, cash-free, digital dollar, 100%. Well, let's take a look at that seriously. I know with everything, every change, there are good things and bad things. This change, in my opinion, it's mainly bad things. There's not much for good things, and the good things are just on the surface. The bad things are deep-rooted. So, think of this. I mean, right now, if you're paying interest on your home loan or a vehicle loan you may have, it's the lowest they can go, pretty much, is to the penny. So you're paying 3.5 cents interest. Well, it's half a cent. So 3.5 cents. That's fine. I mean, that's the lowest it goes. If you think about it, if you go to get gas, and the gas is, let's say, $2.49, and then there's a little 9 by that. So $2.49.9. So it's almost $2.50. Not quite, but almost. Well, that, everyone bats an eye at it. That's fractions. That's nothing. That's just the way it is. Well, I mean, they can go to 1% of the cent. You go cashless. You go digital. The digital money, the digital dollar, or whatever they're going to call it, doesn't stop at a cent and only increments to 1% to 9% of that cent. There's a tenth, there's a half, there's 3/4 of that cent, there's 5/8 of that cent, there's 9/10 of that cent. That's where they stop. That's it. When it goes digital, they have endless digits. I mean, endless numbers past the percentage, past the decimal point that they can go to. It doesn't harm you or I. It doesn't feel like that. But think about it. If we have, we'll just throw a number out there, 330 million people in the United States. If they, because it's a cost to have a digital dollar, cost to bank wherever you're banking, cost to be part of the Federal Reserve, which is not part of the government. It's a group of private banks. You need to pay something for that. Well, you only have to pay 0.001 cents, or whatever they're calling it, increments of a cent on that every day or every week. You don't feel that. It feels like nothing. Well, if you multiply that by $330 million, or 330 million people, I mean, not dollars, 330 million people, that adds up, and it adds up fast. Well, why should you care? Why should I care? Well, why? Because back when the Federal Reserve was started, when the whole thing was initiated, and it was passed, the Federal Reserve Act was passed in 1913, I don't think there was any thought of, having fractions upon fractions upon fractions of a cent that you're paying in interest. Why is that? Well, I mean, a dollar was worth a lot more back then than it is now, so I didn't have to break it down that much. It's just, in my opinion, an easier way for them to steal and take from you and I without us really feeling it and without us really throwing a fit or making a stink about it. Beyond that, the banks will have full control of your money. I mean, if they don't agree with what you say or don't agree with some views you have, or a county doesn't agree with the Second Amendment, a gun, the Second Amendment that allows you to freely carry firearms or purchase firearms. You go to a gun store that's out of your county, well, because you bank, I say that freely because it's a digital dollar, it's all controlled by the Federal Reserve, because your county doesn't accept that, are they not going to allow you to purchase firearms outside of your county? Because you can't purchase them inside the county if they don't allow that for sales. But outside of your county or outside of your state, are you going to be allowed to purchase something that your state may or may not allow, whether it's right or wrong? Every transaction you make is recorded, so everything from the start to the finish. And people say, but I mainly pay with credit card, or I mainly pay with a debit card, so I'm fine with that. Well, that's okay. You have a choice there. If I'm not fine with that, or your neighbor's not fine with that, they no longer have a choice with that. They no longer have an option to not make it public to the government or the Federal Reserve or whoever, make public all of your purchasing habits. Right now there's a choice. They're going to take that away. Right or wrong, good or bad. That's all depends on your opinion. But this is taking choice away. The government can decide what you buy, which I just spoke about with that. I mean, and it can go everywhere. I mean, you no longer can have any privacy. The government could decide who you can pay. If someone's working, doing a job for you and there's no cash, nothing that you have for a barter to say, hey, come over, do this, I got this thing, I can give you this chainsaw or whatever the case might be. If you have nothing like that they want, you pay them with a digital dollar. They don't accept it. They said, you cannot pay this gentleman for whatever reason, because they don't like him or they don't like you associating with him or her. For whatever reason, they can say, nope, not going to allow it. Your bank accounts could be frozen. So just think of that. If you fear that your credit card was messed with or someone had taken it, you can call them. They'll freeze your account. That no longer can be used, which is great because no more fraudulent activity can be handled on your credit card or debit card. That's great. Now, the bank or the government can freeze your account for whatever reason, whatever they see fit, whatever they think is in their best interest and your best interest. Absolutely. For your safety, they're going to put it. They can freeze your bank account. That means you can't go pay for gas. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. You can't, get through whatever you need to for the week, months, years, if it's frozen that long. You cannot live in this life like you're supposed to be able to. That's gone. It's frozen. And if I know anything from the experience I've had with government, they're not fast to act. So if you have a gripe or a concern and you want it taken care of, they're not going to get back to you within 24 hours, 48 hours, like normal companies do. It might be months upon months, and there you still might not have an answer, and there might be some proceedings they need to do, or they might have to look into things more. In my opinion, they don't care. It's not like you're going to stop going there. You have no choice, because they don't give you a choice. So, and then there's also negative interest rates. Negative interest rates sound great if you have a loan, because then you're getting paid to take out a loan, or you're getting paid to have a mortgage. Well, you probably won't. It really doesn't happen to that level. But negative interest rates as a business-to-business, country-to-country type thing, they do happen. But with that being said, negative interest rates, banks make no money. They have no way to stay afloat. So because of that, they're going to have to raise fees. they're going to have to charge you to keep money or their digital dollar in your account. So depending on how much you have in there, you're going to have to pay a fee to use it, even though you don't have a choice. You're still going to have to pay a fee to use it. It's sort of like property taxes. Even though you own your home, you have to pay a fee to keep your home. Even though you paid for everything, you still have to pay a fee, and it never goes away. It's a crude sort of analogy, but it's the first thing I had. And that negative interest rates might be a shock, but it's going to be good for those that don't have money or savings to a level. They're not going to be taken down as much. It's going to be horrible for those who are saving for their children's college fund or their children's house down payment or for themselves for their retirement. It's going to be horrible for them because they have a lot more stashed away, and because of that, there's going to be a lot more taken away. So that's what the digital dollar is. And once cash is gone, what are you going to exchange in? I know I've spoke about having silver and gold, precious metals, and that's good to a point, but you cannot pay, as far as right now, years ago, I mean, back before the Federal Reserve and even after for a little bit, you could pay taxes in that. Now you cannot pay property taxes with metals. You cannot pay tabs in your vehicle with metals. You can't pay a ticket if you get a speeding ticket. You can't pay anything to the government with anything but what they justify and say that you need to use, which now is the dollar and soon to be the digital dollar. This is not going to stop. We may be able to slow it down some, but because of that, my family and myself have been, trying to prepare with having assets, gold, silver, something else to barter with, trying to stay at least not reliant 100%, because once you're 100% reliant on them, you have no options. You have no way out. You have no way around something. And whether it's, it doesn't have to be illegal, just something they don't agree with for whatever reason. Or maybe you look like a person who is wanted for a crime. You look like it. You fit what they're looking at. Your vehicle is similar. So because of that, they're going to hold all your assets till they find and charge a person, and they find the right person that isn't you. Well, then they release all your stuff, and now you're back to normal. But you've lost 6 weeks of your life. You've lost 6 weeks of spending, 6 weeks of getting through life with the digital dollar because your assets were frozen. Your digital dollar was frozen. There's no way you could pay. So in a society where there's very few owners, like very few ownership, it's as small as music. Nowadays, people don't own CDs. Movies. Nowadays, people really don't own DVDs. Back in the day, it was cassettes and VHS, but that's graduated to CDs and DVDs. And even that now is all digital. It's stored somewhere in a cloud. What's a cloud? A cloud is a hard drive that someone owns, and it's somewhere, and you don't have access to it. You don't own it. They say you own this thing, this album you purchased or this movie you purchased, but if they don't agree with something, or they no longer are carrying it because of something that they found, the creator or some actor or actress in it, they don't agree with, or something they found was wrong with it, in their opinion, they'll shut it down. You no longer have access to it. If they refund you that stuff? Absolutely not. If you owned it, they wouldn't have that option. That also goes into computer software. Years ago, you would go buy whatever you need for software, whether you're a Mac or PC based. You would go out, you would buy, if it's some sort of graphic software, you would buy that, Adobe. You would, install it on your computer, you would have it, and then when they have updates, that kind of stuff, you could get the free updates online, or if they have a new version of it years later, you go purchase a CD and update it from there. Same with Microsoft stuff. Now, It's a monthly rental. You pay monthly rental fees. You don't own anything. You can use it in digital form. You don't own it. You rent it monthly, like a Netflix subscription. I mean, you have no ownership in that. So if something happens to you, or you want to keep some of that accounting software or whatever, and you're out of the business or you're no longer with it, but you just want to keep those records on your computer, well, if you don't have it and you can no longer afford to pay the monthly fee and you can't justify it just to keep these records or access to look at your records, what good is it? I mean, if you didn't print everything out, you don't have everything, then what? Are you going to have to rent this for the rest of your life until you no longer care to keep these? I mean, that's a crude way to say it, but that's where everything's going. There's no more owners. Everything's renters. And cashless just brings that to a whole new level. It just heightens the emphasis on you don't own anything, you rent everything. That's what's happening. You have access to things that is allowed from powers that feel are in charge. You have no say in it, whether it's software, movies, music, or your digital dollar. What you need to survive in this world, you no longer will have any choice in it, any opportunity to say yes or no. They have it all. So I just want to get this out there. It's coming. As always, we try to prepare, try to see what's best for us and our family. Stay vigilant, protect yourself, protect your health, and protect your wealth.